Good morning, guys. We'll continue with the discussion of the questions. I think in the last class we have discussed up to question number 179 in our material, that is conception. Now we will continue with that. Here our next question comes. Read the question properly. Among the following, outermost configuration of metal which shows the highest oxidation state. Try to understand the question properly. Among the following, outermost configuration of metals which shows highest oxidation state. Right? Now, what are the options given? Here we have 3d3 4s2, 3d5 4s1, 3d5 4s2, 3d6 4s2. If you observe the outermost electronic configuration, all of them belongs to the 3d series. All of them belongs to the 3d series. This is the configuration of 3d3 4s2. This is vanadium's configuration, and 3d5 4s1. This is chromium's configuration. If you are talking about 3d5 4s2, this is manganese configuration. If you are talking about 3d6 4s2, this will be the iron. And we know that in oxidation state we have already discussed that in 3d series the maximum oxidation state is exhibited by which element? Which element it is? Manganese. What is the maximum oxidation state exhibited by manganese? It will be plus 7x. So this is a direct question, but here he has given, instead of giving the element directly, he has given the outermost shell electronic configuration. From that you need to identify the proper answer. This is your first question of this class. We'll move to the next question. If it is clear. Here comes our next question. Among sodium oxide, he has given them as A, sodium oxide, B, magnesium oxide, C, aluminum oxide, D, phosphorus pentoxide, C, dichloro heptoxide. He has given the oxides of different metals, metallites and non-metals. And what he has asked, the most basic, most acidic and most basic, most acidic and amphoteric oxides can be. Among these, what are the oxides given? Sodium oxide, magnesium oxide, aluminum oxide. It is given as A, it is B, it is C, and what is given? Phosphorus oxide and chlorine oxides are given. Chlorine oxides are. How to decide whether a given oxide is acid or base or amphoteric in nature? We know that when you are moving left to right in the period, what happens? Acidic nature of the oxides increases. Generally, metal oxides are basic in nature, non-metal oxides are acidic in nature, and oxides of metallites are generally what they are amphoteric in nature. Now, he has given some oxides and asking us to which of the following is most basic. Basically, we have these two are basic oxides. These two are basic oxides. And these two are acidic oxides. Acidic oxides. Because they are non-metallic oxides. Right? If you are talking about phosphorus and chlorine are non-metals, and their corresponding oxides will be acidic in nature. And this is amphoteric oxide. Amphoteric oxide. So, you need to decide among these two which is most basic, among these two which is most acidic. Sodium comes under first group, magnesium comes under second group of same period. So when you are moving left to right, what happens? Basic nature of oxide decreases. So among sodium oxide and magnesium oxide, this sodium oxide is most basic. This is most basic, followed by magnesium oxide. And we know that when you are moving left to right in a period, what happens? Acidic nature of oxides increases. Here it comes, this is 15th group and this is 17th group. So left to right, what happens? Acidic nature increases. So from this is most acidic. Hope it is clear, the criteria of deciding. So let us see what is it. A followed by A asking most basic and most acidic and amphoteric. Only one amphoteric is there, that will be aluminum oxide. So let us see whether we have the option. What is this? This has to be C. This has to be C. AEC. Here ABC, this is not correct. What is this? BEC, this is also not. Correct. Here if you see A, E, C, this is your correct option. A corresponds to sodium oxide, E corresponds to chlorine oxide, which is most acidic, and C corresponds to aluminum oxide. This is how you have to determine. This is an application of a question application of what is this acidic and basic nature. Hope it is clear. We'll move to our next question. Here comes our next question. Diagonal relationship is quite pronounced in the elements of diagonal relationship. What is meant by diagonal relationship? Generally, in the periodic table, in second and third period elements, element of second period will be having similar properties with that of the element of third period, which is diagonally opposite to it. This relationship is called as diagonal relationship. Basically, elements of second period will be diagonal relationship with the elements of third period. For example, if you are talking lithium, beryllium, right, boron, right, what comes beneath the lithium? Sodium, magnesium, aluminium. Here, the element of the second period will be having similar properties with that of the element of the third period of next to, which is diagonally opposite to it. Here, lithium will be having similar properties to that of the magnesium, and beryllium will be having similar properties to that of the aluminium. This relationship is called as diagonal relationship, which is very pronounced in which period it is? Second and third period of the periodic table. So, where is the right option if you go through the options? Second and third periods. Here in the first option itself we have the correct option, right? And the remaining will be wrong. First and second and third groups. It cannot be observed groups, it will be observed only in periods. Third and fourth is also incorrect. So right answer will be first one, that is it is pronounced in second and third period elements of the periodic table. So we move to the next question. Yeah, very good. Now, here comes our next question. Diagonal relationship is shown by. We have just seen that the diagonal relationship is observed in generally second and third period elements. That is, just we have seen the example of what is this? Lithium and magnesium. Beryllium and boron and sulfur cannot be a diagonal pair, and magnesium and calcium cannot be. So this is your right option. Just now we have seen the solution for it. Lithium, magnesium, beryllium, aluminium, etc. all the diagonal pairs. It's a direct question. Now, here comes the next question. Here from this is the first question of level 1 of our material. Right? With the last question, we have completed the questions of the conceptual level, and we are moving to the level 1. Right? Here we have the first question of the level 1. Which of the following pairs both members from the same period of the periodic table? What is the question here? Which of the following pairs has both members from the same period of the periodic table? Here he has given certain pairs of elements and asking us to identify the elements that belongs to the same period. Now see, let us see the first option. Here sodium and calcium are given. Generally sodium belongs to the second period and calcium belongs to the third period. Below the magnesium it comes. Right? They cannot be from the same period of the periodic table. And here if you see sodium and chlorine. Sodium and chlorine belongs to the same period, that is second period. How? If you want second period, what comes here? Aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine. So these two are sodium and chlorine are pair of elements that belongs to the same period. Which period it is? Second period. So what is your right answer? This one is your right answer. If you want to verify, you can also verify the other options. Calcium and chlorine. Calcium belongs to the third period. Chlorine belongs to the second period. Right? One second. Yeah, this belongs to the small correction. This is third period and this is fourth period. Make a small correction. Sodium, magnesium, aluminum belongs to the third period, and calcium, potassium, calcium belongs to the fourth period. Now, here calcium belongs to the fourth period, chlorine belongs to the third period. They are not from the same period. Here chlorine belongs to the third period, and bromine belongs to the fourth period. So, what is your right option? This one is your right option. Sodium and chlorine are belonging to the same period of the periodic table. that is third period. Hope it is clear. Right. We'll move to the next question. The electronic configuration of an element is 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p3. The atomic number of the element which is just below the above element in the periodic table is. He has given electronic configuration. What is the electronic configuration given? 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2 and 3p6 it is. And he is asking the element that is just below of the element of the given configuration. First of all, you need to understand this is the electronic configuration of which element. Which element it is? If you count the number of electrons, 2 plus 2, 4 plus 6, 10 plus 2 plus 3, 15. The total electrons of this is 15. So which element it belongs to? Phosphorus. And what is the next element of that phosphorus? That will be the arsenic, which is an atomic number of 33. He is asking the element, just he has given the electronic configuration of phosphorus and asking us to determine the atomic number of the element which is just below the given electronic configuration. What is the element atomic number? Element is arsenic and the atomic number is 33. So if you have an option 33, then you have to go with the 33. You have 49, 31, 34. Here we have the correct option. What is this? 33 is fourth option. Right? This is about the electronic configuration. Question based on the electronic configuration. Now we will move to the next question. Here comes our next question. Regarding transitional elements, the wrong statement is regarding transition elements. He is asking a question regarding transition elements. What are transition elements? All the elements of D block elements in which D subshell is incompletely filled are called as D transition elements. Let us see what are the options here. They exhibit variable oxidation valences. Is it a true statement or not? It's a true statement. Generally, transition elements exhibits variable oxidation states. They possess low melting point. This is actually the wrong state. Actually, transition elements exhibit highest melting and boiling points because more number of valence electrons. Because of the more number of valence electrons, they forms a very strong metallic bond, because of which they generally exhibits higher melting points and higher boiling points. So according to the given options, this will be the wrong statement. If you go to the next options, they are good catalysts as transition elements. Most of the transition elements are good catalysts. They form colored combinations. This is also true statements. So among the given options, this will be the wrong option. Actually, they will exhibit higher melting point and boiling point, but in the question he has given, they possess low melting point. Right? Here comes our next question. If the quantum numbers of the highest energy electron in an atom are N3, N equal to 3, N equal to 1, M equal to plus 1, S equal to plus of the element. He has given the quantum numbers. What are the quantum numbers given? Principal quantum number is given as 3 and azimuthal quantum number is given as 1. Magnetic quantum number is given as plus 1 and spin quantum number is given as plus 1. And what is asking? Here, this is the quantum numbers of the highest energy electron, and is asking us to determine to which block this element belongs. So basically, see what this n value represents, principal quantum number. It basically gives us the period. In which period the element is present? It is present in the third period. And what does this azimuthal quantum number tells us? It tells us in which subshell the electron is present. What are the L values? Generally, L values varies from 0, 1, 2, 3. If L value is 0, that corresponds to the S subshell. If L value is 1, that corresponds to the P subshell. If L value is 2, that corresponds to D subshell. If L value is 3, that corresponds to the S subshell. So what is L value? Here it is P subshell. If the valency electron, if the differentiating electron is entering into the P subshell, then that element will be formed in which block? It will be formed in P block. Are you getting it? This information is not required. Actually, from this information only you can predict the period of the or block of the given electronic configuration. Right? P block. As the differentiating electron entering into the P subshell, this particular element belongs to the P block of the periodic table. We'll move to the next question. Here comes our next question. An atom with atomic number 21 belongs to the category of. Yes, given the atomic number. What is atomic number given? Atomic number is 21 is given. What is the element that atomic number is 21? Scandium. And asking us to which category it belongs to. S block, P block, E block or F block. You know that scandium 21 generally belongs to the third period. Sorry, it belongs to the fourth period and 3D series. 3D series. The differentiating electron of scandium will enter into the, if you are talking about the valence electron configuration, it is 4s2 3d1s. As the differentiating electron of scandium is entering into the d orbital, it will belong to the d block element. Are you ready? It can be asked either by giving electronic configuration or by giving the atomic number or by simply giving the element name. You will be asked to give the block, period or group of the element. Now, here comes our next question. The covalent radius of hydrogen is 0.37 angstroms. The bond length in H2 molecule is. He has given the covalent radius. What is covalent radius? Atomic radius can be expressed in various manners, such as covalent radius, van der Waals radius, metallic radius. What is meant by covalent radius? It is the half of the distance of. It is half of the internuclear distance of two bonded atoms, which are bonded by covalent. Here he has given. What he has given? Covalent radius of hydrogen he has given. How much it is? 0.37 angstroms. And what he is asking us? He is asking us the bond length or internuclear distance, which is generally denoted with D, is how much? What is the relation between the covalent radius and bond length? Covalent radius will be equal to half of the bond length. From this, what he is asking? He is asking us the distance. He has given the covalent radius of hydrogen. So, from this, what we can write? Distance will be equal to covalent radius of hydrogen into 2. What is the covalent radius is given? 0.37 into 2. How much it comes? It comes 0.74 volts. 74 angstroms. This is how you have to calculate this. Let us see whether we have the correct option or not. Here it is 0.18 angstroms. It is not. Here we have the correct option. That is 0.74 angstroms. From the relation of covalent radius and bond length, you have to determine the bond length. Hope it is clear. Now we will move to the next question. In which of the following pairs the first atom or ion is not larger than second? Here some species of ions or some atoms are given and asking us which of the following pair the first ion or atom is not larger than the second. Now if you see what is the first pair? The first pair is given Fe plus 2 and Fe plus 3. In between these two, which is largest and which is smallest? Generally we know that if you are talking about the radius of cation, it will be inversely proportional to the charge of cation. So higher the charge, smaller will be the size. This is a smaller size. So generally Fe plus 2 is larger than Fe plus 3. So it is the right option. If you are talking about sulfur, oxygen and sulfur, here if you see oxygen belongs to the second period and sulfur belongs to the third period. When you are moving top to down in a group, what happens? Top to down in a group, what happens? Generally size increases. So that what is here size of oxygen? What is this? Size of oxygen is less than sulfur. What is the question is actually asking us? Yeah. Which is in which of the following pair first one is not larger than the second one? The first one is smaller and second one is larger. So this is your right answer. Here first one is not larger than the second one. If you want, you can verify the other two options also. Nitrogen and oxygen. Generally left to right in the period, what happens? Size decreases. Nitrogen belongs to the second period and oxygen also belongs to the second period. This is from the 15th group and this is from the 16th group. So generally size of the nitrogen is larger than the oxygen, and generally here it is Cl minus and it is Cl. So here also what is the Cl minus is generally larger than the Cl. Here also this is larger than Cl. But what is here? Here second is larger than the first. So So your right answer will be the second option, right? Here comes our next question. Which of the following is an example of positive ion and negative ion that is isoelectronic with argon? Try to understand the question. Which of the following is example of positive ion and negative ion that is isoelectronic with the argon? Right? You have to identify the positive and negative ion which are isoelectronic with the argon. What is mean by isoelectronic? Isoelectronic means species are having same number of electrons are called as isoelectronic species. And he is asking us to identify the isoelectronic species of argon. What is the atomic number of argon? Atomic number of argon is 18. That means generally you have to identify the species which are having both cations as well as anion that is having 18 electrons. Now let us see potassium and chlorine. Right? Potassium will be actually 19. When it loses one electron, it becomes K plus. Number of electrons will become 18. Right? Cl minus. Generally, number of electrons in chlorine are 17. When it gains an electron, it becomes Cl minus. So the number of electrons becomes 18. And Ca plus 2. Number of electrons in calcium are 20. When it loses 2 electrons, it becomes Ca plus 2. So that the number of electrons becomes 18. Generally, atomic number of sulfur is 16. When it gains 2 electrons, it becomes S minus sulfide ion. So the number of electrons 16 plus 2 will become 18. So here if you see, all of them are having same number of electrons, that is 18, 18, which is equal to the electrons of argon. And here you have the first option itself is the correct option. Right? If you want to verify the rest of the options. Here number of electrons are 10, here 10, here 10, here also 10. These are also isoelectronic, but they are not isoelectronic of argon. Right? Here if you see, this is 18, this is 10, and this is 18. Here magnesium is not isoelectronic with argon. If you see here 18, and here this is iodine is given. Iodine is generally 53. Here it is having 54 electrons. It is 20 and it is 80 and it is 10 it is. These are not isoelectronic. So only the right option is first option. This is how you have to verify the isoelectronic species of any given element. The question is asking us isoelectronic of argon. Good is clear? If it is clear, we will move to the next question. Right. Here comes our next question. In the isoelectronic species, the ionic radii of nitride, oxide, fluoride are respectively in. He is asking us to identify the ionic radius of nitride, oxide and fluoride. First of all these nitride, oxide, fluoride are isoelectronic species. How? See, 10 electrons, 7 plus 3, 10, 8 plus 2, 10, 9 plus 1, 10. Right? So all of them are having 10 electrons. Now, what is the relations? How to determine the ionic radii of isoelectronic species? In case of isoelectronic species, radius of ion is generally inversely proportional to Z. What is Z here? Atomic number. That means smaller the Z, larger will be the ion. And what are the atomic numbers of nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine? If you are talking about the Z, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9. So what will be the decreasing order of atomic size? Here nitride is larger because smaller atomic number. Then nitride is larger than oxide and oxide is larger than fluoride. From the relation of ionic radius of isoelectronic species will be inversely proportional to the atomic number. So here we have given some values of atomic radius. You need to identify which ionic radii belong to the nitride, which belong to the oxide, which belong to the fluoride. Now largest should be the nitride and smallest should be the fluoride, and oxygen should be in between nitride and fluoride. Let us see what are the maximum and minimum values given. Right? If you are looking at this, right? What are the values given? 1.36 angstroms is given, 1.4, 1.7. Right? Respectively, the first you need to identify the nitrides followed by oxide and followed by fluoride. So the largest one should be the nitride. So this cannot be. This is the smallest. This cannot be the correct option. This is also smallest. By looking at these two options, you can exclude them because he is saying that nitride is the smallest, but nitride is the largest. In between these two, you might have the correct option. See, nitride followed by, this is the largest, this is second largest, this is the smallest. This is your first correct option. Nitride is the largest, followed by the oxide, followed by the fluoride. Right? This is a question from the concept of isoelectronic species. Are you getting this? We'll move to the next question. Here comes our next question. Which of the following is an example of positive ion and negative ion, that is an isoelectron with organ? Sorry, this is we have already done. Yeah, this is your next question. The first ionization potential value of sodium, magnesium, aluminum and silicon atoms will be in the order. Is asking the first ionization energy of the elements of second period, that is what are the elements given? Sodium, magnesium, aluminum and silicon are given. Generally, left to right, what happens in the periodic table? Ionization energy increases as the Z effect increases. But what is the actual atom? Sodium ionization energy is less than by aluminum, followed by magnesium, followed by silicon. This is our. Here we have an exception between aluminum and magnesium. Why? If you are talking about the valence electronic configuration, magnesium is 3s2 and aluminum is 3s2 3p1. Because of the completely filled configuration, that to s orbital, removal of the electron from the magnesium is difficult when you compare with the removal of electron from the aluminum if you are talking about the first ionization increase. So this is actually the increasing order. Now let us see which option is correct as per the given data. Now here if you look at the first option, sodium is less than magnesium and aluminum is also less than magnesium. But what is saying? Aluminum is also less than magnesium and silicon is greater than aluminum. Right? Now let us see the other options also. Sodium is greater than magnesium. This is not correct because sodium has to be less than magnesium. You can exclude this option. Now sodium is less than magnesium and aluminum is also less than magnesium, but silicon is also less than aluminum. This is also not true. Sodium is greater than magnesium. Is it true? It is also true. Now here you have the correct option. What is this? Sodium is less than magnesium, aluminum is also less than magnesium, but silicon is greater than aluminum. This is your right answer. This is how you have to verify the proper option. If they are not arranged according to their increasing or decreasing, this is how you have to evaluate the question. Hope it is clear. Okay, we have the next question. The electronic configuration of element A, B and C are helium 2s1, neon 3s1 and argon 4s1 respectively. Which of the following order is correct for the first ionization potential of A, B and C? First of all, what are the electronic configuration given? Helium 2s1 is given and neon 3s1 is given and argon 4s1 is given. This corresponds to the electronic configuration of this is lithium, this is sodium, this is potassium. All these will belong to the first K group. So generally top to down group, what happens? Ionization energy decreases while size increases. So what should be the correct relation? Here he said that this is A, this is B, this is C. So A to B, B to C, what is happening? Ionization energy gradually decreases while size increases. So what is the proper option? Here in the first option itself, you have the correct option. A is greater than B, B is greater than C. Is the right answer for this particular question. It is clear. Now we'll move to the next question. Here comes the next question. First ionization energy IE1, IE2. That is first ionization and second ionization energies of magnesium are 178 and 348 kilocalories per mole. The energy of the reaction Mg2, Mg plus 2 gives 2 electrons. Here has been the first ionization energy. What is meant by first ionization energy? when magnesium is converted into Mg plus, here this is called first ionization. How much it is given? 178 kilocalories is given per mole EHC. And what is second ionization energy? When you remove one more electron from this gaseous ion, what is this? Mg plus 2 if it is converted. What is this? Ie2 will be how much it has been? 348 kilocalories per mole EHC. And what is the amount of energy required for this transition? Directly, what you have to do? You have to remove 2 electrons. Here only 1 electron is removed. Here only 1 electron is removed. So generally, the energy changes associated in this particular process are equal to. Generally, energy changes of a reaction is denoted in delta H. This is generally equal. It is equal to what? Sum of the first ionization energy and second ionization energy. What is the first ionization energy? This is 178 plus what is this? 348 kilocalories per mole. How much it comes? It will come around, what is this? Plus 526 kilocalories per mole it comes. If you add these two. So what is the proper answer? Here this is also important, whether it is plus or minus. What is the significance of this type plus or minus? Plus indicate that you are giving the energy to the reaction. Minus means reaction will release the energy. Sign also makes a difference here. You need to be careful about that. This is how you have to evaluate ionization energies. Hope it is clear. Now we'll move to the next question. Here comes our next question. The formation of the oxide ion O- requires first an exothermic and then endothermic step as shown below. What is it? First ionization is exothermic and second is the formation of oxide ion requires first exothermic and endothermic. Means first of all, if you want to form an oxide ion, what is oxide ion? O-. How it will be formed? When gaseous oxygen accepts an electron, it forms O-. This is basically what? This is endothermic. If you want to add one more electron to this, you need negatively charged oxygen. It will be endothermic. What is the reason for this is asking? What is the reason for this? Your neutral atom, it simply accepts the electron, but it is already negatively charged. We are trying to add one more electron. The valence electrons will repel the incoming electron. Because of that reason, you need to spend some energy. So what are the options given? O- ion has comparatively larger size than oxygen atom. Oxygen atom larger than O- ion due to the repulsions between electron and O- ion that makes this particular step as a endothermic. Hope it is clear.